Hi, Michael Yardney here, and welcome to another Ask the Experts question where we've got Ken Race from Metropole Wealth Advisory answering your property tax structuring and estate planning questions. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you, Michael.
Now, this is a quite interesting question that Linda Voss left us on the website, and she said, we're about to purchase an apartment on a first home buyer grant and plan to live in it for the required time and then lease it out and move on to something bigger. And lots of people do that, we understand that. But she's got a smart question, Ken. She's wondering if it's worthwhile doing upgrades. She's wanting to renovate the property while she's residing in it as a resident, or rather than when it becomes an investment property. Now, I understand Linda's question because there's some changes to the depreciation rules recently, Ken.
Yes, so just to go on that point, the changes to the legislation that was at the time of the last federal budget, that if you own an existing property, you're allowed to continue depreciating the plant and the equipment. What they're saying is if you buy a existing property after the federal budget, you can no longer claim the plant and equipment.
So that's after May the 17th, 2017.
17, correct. You can still maintain the building depreciation. So what they're saying post that federal budget is to claim the depreciation on the plant and equipment, you must have spent the money and did the work, and then you can claim it. So what's interesting is in your question, when do I do that renovation? If you do it while you are living in the property, you will actually be forced to depreciate that along the way while you're still living in it. So when you then rent it out, you've got a lower base to then depreciate because you would have eaten into your allowable deduction without getting a claim because you were living in it as a home. I would think it's probably better to do after you move out. Look, I've got to say, as long as the property is livable for you, I mean, if you've got to do the renovation to live in it, well, you've just got to do it. But assuming that you don't have to, I would be postponing it. You've got to be very careful, though, with depreciation because you've got to link it back to generating income for yourself. So if you do the renovation before the tenant moves in for the first time, you'll actually lose out a big chunk of that allowable deduction. I'd be doing it between tenants.
That's interesting because most people wouldn't realise that. There's also that low value pool that people don't realise you can get a lot from. I know a client recently got a depreciation schedule back and got it from the depreciation people and said low value pool. She rang up and said, I don't have a pool, Michael. And I explained to her what it means. Do you want to explain that too, please, Ken?
Yeah, there's low cost and low pool items. So they put together those low pool items and aggregate them and then depreciate them. And what you're allowed to do is you can actually claim a large proportion in that first year. So they don't proportion it over the year. So you get a big bulk of it, even if you buy something in June. So they're those items that are low value, under $1,000, or low pool, the $300 mark. But you've got to be careful. They will take a group of things. So if you had, I'm just calling it pot plants, and they were all valued at $250, they will aggregate them together and say you got 5 of them. So that's nearly $1,500. You'd have to treat it as a whole. But one thing that a lot of people miss out on is if they bought that property with multiple names on the title.
That's a good one, Ken. I know where you're coming from. Please explain that.
Yeah. So if you're multiple, and sometimes it could be spouses or partners, you would normally get one depreciation schedule and then claim half each. The benefit, though, is get 2 depreciations, so each person has got 100% of their half. So that will significantly increase your annual charge, depreciation charge. And what may have been not a low cost, low pool, because call it a $2,000 dishwasher, now all of a sudden becomes a $1,000 item because your half is worth $1,000, and therefore you can depreciate it much more aggressively. So split depreciation schedules is one of the biggest mistakes or omissions that I see property investors make by not actually getting 2 depreciation schedules instead of 1.
Great answer, Ken. So first of all, Linda, thank you very much for leaving a question on the website. And anyone else who'd like Ken to answer their question, please leave your question below as well. Or if you're watching this on Facebook, leave your question there and I'll get it to Ken. And thank you so much, Ken, for taking the time to answer Linda's question.
No, that was great. And thank you for sending those questions in.
We'll speak to you again next week. Goodbye, Ken.
Goodbye.